I've been transitioning now for over 3 years. So today I wanted to take a chance to share some of what I've learned during that time. My hope is to pass it forward and do my best to help equip others for their journey, almost like an older sister. So make a hot drink, have a seat, and join me for these next few moments as I share what I've learned in my 3 years of transitioning. There is no one way to be trans. There's no one way to transition. Do whatever works for you at your own pace in whatever order feels right. This one feels more important now than ever as people share and document their experiences online more and more. It can be difficult when you don't empathize with their experience. I started my medical transition long before I began socially transitioning. I took things slowly, adding pieces on bit by bit. I started off using he, him pronouns and presenting masculine, then shifted more towards androgyny, using they, them, and eventually settled into my current feminine presentation with she, her pronouns. My goal all along was eventually to land in feminine, but I knew if I made that instant switch and I had a negative experience, it would shatter me. In contrast, I've also had friends who did the exact opposite to me. They started by changing their name and pronouns, presenting as their gender, and this was all long before pursuing any medical steps or even knowing if they wanted to. I often feel guilty that so much of what I talk about reflects gender and transition through quite a heavy Western binary lens, but that's just been my experience. And a lot of what you'll find on YouTube or social media, unfortunately, often follows that same or similar kind of narrative. So if that's not your story, if you're a person whose gender doesn't fit in neatly into a Western binary, or maybe someone who plays with gender, who's fluid or non-binary, I could understand how you might feel underrepresented or even at times invalidated. If that sounds like you, I highly recommend the book Before We Were Trans by Dr. Kit Hayam. It's a beautiful exploration of gender across history and cultures, and it really might resonate with you. But above all, remember this: do what feels comfortable, do what feels right for you, because transition isn't just about changing your body, it's about claiming your life. And there are so many ways to do that. Keep a transition journal. I started my journal in Evernote on the very first day I began transitioning. At first, it was just a place to track physical changes, like what I noticed after starting HRT. Little things like left nipple tingled. Yes, really, scarlet for me. At the beginning, it was quick, daily check-ins, little snapshots of discovery, but over time, as more social aspects of my transition started unfolding, my entries shifted too. Gradually, those snapshots turned into longer, more reflective paragraphs, pages full of thoughts, fears, tiny victories, and everything in between. They became less about the physical and more about the emotional, the moments that shaped me as a person. And now, I rarely write at all, and when I do, it's usually just a huge catch-up session, me acknowledging that I haven't needed to write in a while. Much more like a general diary than a transition journal. What surprised me most is how valuable that journal is now, years later. It's like a breadcrumb trail, reminders of how far I've come. I can go back and read how terrified I was to do things that now feel completely natural and everyday. I can see the hopes I had and realize now that I've actually lived them. Transition takes time. Trust the process. I know it's easier said than done when you're just starting out, it can feel urgent. Like if you don't get on HRT immediately, you're losing precious time. Believe me, I've been there. But I promise you, there's no rush. Transition is just that, a process, a journey of change, and that process isn't just hormones, clothes, or surgeries. It's all those other moments in between. Your first time coming out to someone, your first time presenting at work, even your first negative experience. They're all part of it. And as hard or as stressful as those moments might be at the time, those for me were often the moments where I made the biggest leaps forward. So have faith and trust the process. If your goal is to pass, just know this: you are worthy of love and respect, no matter how you're perceived. For a while, whenever I met new people, I was hyper aware of how I came across. My appearance shaped the way people treated me. And I started wondering, were they being kind to me because they saw me as the fragile trans girl doing her best? But eventually I realized sometimes people just like you, not because of your history and who you were before, not because they pity you, but because of who you are now. Your transness is part of you, but it is not all of you. I sometimes think of transition as a gentle becoming. There's this phrase I love, death by 1,000 cuts. But here it's more like life by 1,000 soft shifts. The idea that small cumulative changes can build into something big, not just in transition, but in many parts of life. When the bigger stuff like FFS, top surgery, bottom surgery, or glotoplasty can feel out of reach, or they're just not what you want, that doesn't mean you're stuck. Focus on what is in your control. Do a collection of smaller things. Adjust, experiment, build. I like to imagine people have this subconscious flow chart in their heads whenever they meet a new person to arrive at their perceived gender, a kind of mental process they go through. It's almost like a scale, and sure, some traits weigh more than others on that scale, but I believe a lot of smaller cues can start to stack up, and over time, even outweigh the so-called big ones. You don't need to move mountains to change your world. Sometimes carefully placed pebbles will do the trick. So needless to say, this video got quite a bit deeper than I initially intended to when I started writing it, but I think that's a good thing. I think a lot of the thoughts and reflections and lessons here have a lot of value to them. I can only hope you found them valuable too. I will leave you with one last tip, and that is to wear SPF. If the UV is over 2, put on some SPF. Now, don't worry if you're thinking back to your childhood days on the beach. Sticky hands, sticky face, sand stuck all over you, looking like Casper the Ghost. SPF has gotten way better since those days. You can get chemical ones as opposed to mineral, so you don't get that white cast. And they go on great under makeup. Oh, actually, this is the one I use. Pure UV Aquarish. Not sponsored or anything, I just really like it and really enjoy it. But yeah, please feel free to leave any of your own advice and experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear them, love to read them. And with that, I'm signing off. Have an amazing rest of your day. Bye. This teleprompter under rocks. Hell yes, baby. No, it's sitting out. No. Let's mix it up. Let's go. Change location. We have the budget for location changes now. Look at that shit. Oh shit, I'm still recording. It's very funny. If you could focus on my face, that'd be great. What is so nice back there? She is still recording, babe.